Well, I want to thank our guest, Gert Franz, who is the co-founder, I guess I put it in the email, of Lucee, and still working for DistroKid. Good, good. And we're going to get a couple of previews tonight, and looking forward to it. Why don't you take it off, Gert?
Okay, so um, good day and good evening, good morning, wherever you guys are. Um, for me, it's already past midnight, but I always, enjoy these. It's very quiet here, no phone ringing, no nobody, and it is always good to do these kind of presentations. Allows us to showcase certain things, and I got two guests with me. What I'm going to start I'm going to just start my presentation. And is it okay? I can share my screen. Okay. So, welcome everyone here from Switzerland, wherever you guys are, you folks are. I'm yes, one of the founders of Lucee, of the Lucee Association, which is already 10 now 11, 12 years old. So founded in September 2014. And with my good friend Mark and Zac, my good friend Zac, we have gone a long way since 2003, 2004, I think it was when we started Rilo in the days. And still my language of choice. Love it still a lot, even with the current AI changes and everything. But so today I'm actually joined by two guests, Mark Drew and Zac Spitzer. Zac's currently joining us from Melbourne and Mark from London and Greenwich. And just a little bit about me, if you don't know me, I'm working currently for DistroKid next to helping out with Lucee. I'm a fellow at DistroKid, which means I'm doing all kinds of stuff, mostly around innovation, bringing new things to DistroKid, writing proofs of concepts, etc. And just one word about DistroKid, or one sentence: if you like music, if you do music, if you make your own music, DistroKid is actually one of the tools that must be in your tool set. Right? It is a big distributor, the largest distributor in the world. So if you want to share your music everywhere, use DistroKid for that. It's absolutely fantastic. Well, obviously, because it's built on Lucee, and we're part of that. Okay, so what's in store today? We're talking about Lucee 7 Plus. And I remember a while ago, I think it was when we introduced Lucee 6 first time. This is where we want to go in a startup time. We're not there yet. We're definitely not there yet. We always treated our engines like cruise ships. And we always thought that it is important that we need to foster them and care about them. And it's time to start not using them as cruise ships, but as small, lean boats that can be in and out very fast. They start up, they're very lean, they don't have lots of baggage and lots of garbage in it. And that is how we should treat them, because containers are started immediately and destroyed immediately. Deployments are initiating servers and destroying servers again. So let me just, I'm sorry, but I just would like to share my different screen because it is just easier for me to do it in the other screen. Sorry about that. Bringing two here, this one. Okay. Where is it? Oh, yes. There we go. Okay, so we're good. Sorry about that. Okay, good. So what we'll try to do is reduce the size of Lucee, improve the startup time, increase the performance, make it leaner, make it slimmer, make it have less garbage. So the concept, one of the biggest concepts and one of the biggest time hogs that we had in the startup time with Lucee are the additional web contexts. In the time, let's say in the early 2000s and the 2010s, there were web contexts were really a very good thing that you can use because you can configure them differently. You had for each website, you had a different web context. They were separated, so you had separation of concerns and everything, and you had security. So that every setting that you did for a web context was isolated to that web context. And you had a server context, which is then giving you global settings that you can use everywhere. This is not required and necessary anymore because, nowadays you're just starting up a small pod or a small container and you can configure it on the fly. And you have a huge benefit because you have a simpler configuration, you have way more memory overhead, and you have a way better startup time, right? It's perfect for Docker or Kubernetes, for example, or even for local development. And so single mode is now default, and I think you can, Zac, please correct me if I'm wrong. Can you still switch to?
No, Lucee 7 only has single mode.
It's only single mode. So it's not the default. It is actually just single mode. Okay.
Just one little thing is there are still what we call lightweight web contexts. So each of your individual hosts has its own namespace in terms of mappings and files. So there's a little bit of isolation, but you have no control. It's invisible. All it's configured by is what the root mapping is.
Okay. Thank you.
But it's like ACF, basically.
Yeah. And nowadays, one thing, since you want to deploy on web containers or pods and Kubernetes, you would like to, of course, have your configuration maybe even as part of your repository or by or parts of the configuration. And many of the things would be then fueled by environment variables as well. So if you have infrastructure as code and you want to deploy with files that you're actually generating on the fly, then this is perfect because you now can configure everything from the Lucee JSON configuration, and you can start up the whole server with that configuration in place. You can have extensions loaded there. You can have extensions loaded via environment variables or by the configuration. The Lucee JSON file is actually now standard, so everything can be defined in the Lucee JSON, and it's fully CFconfig compatible, so that you can easily read that. Before it was XML, and XML, we switched to that in Lucee 6, and now it's a lot simpler to deploy everything like that. Then for Lucee 7, we actually now had to do a change by moving away from the old JavaX namespace to the Jakarta namespace. This was required because Oracle has the name rights for JavaX, for the JavaX namespace. And obviously, they want to protect it. And they, hang on, let me just get that out of the way. And Tomcat 10, for example, requires Jakarta. And Oracle didn't allow the Eclipse Foundation to use JavaX going forward. So what they had to do, move to the next island, which is Jakarta, or the capital of Indonesia, Jakarta. And now everything has changed the namespace. And you can now also gain from modern JVM features because, the latest JVM releases, OpenJDK or releases are as of 17 plus are in the Jakarta namespace. And if you want to use anything there, you have to be on that namespace. Okay, good.
There's also absolutely no reason not to be using Java 21 or with Lucee 7.1 Java 25.
Mm-hmm.
You can use Java 25 with 7, but it's officially going to be baseline for Lucee 7.1. And what it means, it's faster and quicker.
Yes. Also, what we have done, we have dropped the Java 8 support. So Lucee 7 won't support Java 8 anymore. Minimum is Java 11 in this case. And for Lucee 7.0, we recommend Java 21. And as Zac just pointed out, I think 7.1 is the base is 25, Java 25. for really great performance improvements. And for example, Project Loom also, which is virtual thread, has been introduced in later Java versions. So if you want to use those, which give you a huge performance benefit, you have to be on one of these additional or the higher Java versions. Then we now treat AI as a first-class citizen. It has been introduced in 6.2 as a beta feature, but now it is fully production ready. So we have now a built-in interaction with LLM. I will show a couple of examples later on. And it will give you multi-part support as well, so that you can interact with music generation, for example, or image generation using Nano Banana, for example, or ChatGPT's imaging LLM solution. So how you can use it in the code is just by using these new AI functions that we have, like, for example, create AI session, where you give it a name or you use a name which you define in the admin, which I'll show later on. And then you can just ask that LLM a question, and it will, after thinking about it, return a result. Yes, and another thing that we have introduced is a secret provider. Very often you have to store some secrets, some passwords and everything, and you don't want to have them in clear text, and you don't want to have them in maybe a file or even in environment variables. So Lucee supports different secrets managers, like, for example, AWS Secrets Manager or Google Secrets Manager. And now you can just use that in the code as well by just saying, okay, you define the secrets provider in your configuration, and then you do secret provider get, and then you get a specific API key or a password or whatever you want to store in there. And there are very many examples in the recipes that we have created for this, where you can have a look how you can configure that. You can even use CSV files on the server, which is, of course, well, not that wise, but it is possible, right? So that you can, for example, build it up and then switch the secrets manager with a real one, either the Google one or the AWS one. By the way, if anyone has any question, just let me know and I'll try to answer them. Yeah, then the next thing is that we're talking about, we have upgraded the Lucee extension. I'll show a little bit more about this later on as well. And it has been really majorly upgraded. So it was a very old version that we had, and it was used for full text search or semantic search.
The old version was old enough to drink.
Yeah, it was really old enough to drink. We introduced it, I think, in 2004, which makes it, well, even in the US, it's now allowed to drink, right? So there you go, right? Anyway, I'll cover that in a bit. Now, let's talk about the AI implementation. So the AI implementation is really very, very important, because we have no clue where it's going to lead towards, but we will have to be part of this, because every major language is supporting AI in one way or another. Of course, you can always use an API to talk to AI, but it is always good if you are embedding that in the engine itself with some supporting scripts or some supporting functions that you can call. And in Lucee's point, what you can do is you can actually define AI endpoints just like data sources. So we don't care what AI you're using or what LLM you're using, what provider you're using. The only thing that you need to do is you actually need to connect to or define the connection in the admin or in the JSON configuration. And then you can just use that just like a data source. You know, for example, you could create an AI session called Claude or ChatGPT, and then tell it give it an initialization string. I'll show you an example in a second. And then you can just ask those individual LLMs questions, you can do comparisons and whatever. So it's just like talking to your ChatGPT client or over the website. So very simple usage. You just create an AI session. You pass in the name. Like for example, here you can see we have one called Claude, and there it says which model it is. I think you can even create them on the fly. You can pass which model it is, and then you can just use it like this by saying, okay, inquire AI session Claude, which is the variable that we have set there, and then who invented Lucee. And then that will give you a result, which is usually formatted with the usual wiki format. And then you can do with it whatever you want. Another thing is to have a function that is called whenever you get a response, like for example, if it's thinking about certain things. And here you can, for example, see, okay, here we have the echo token, and then it gives you all the individual steps. Every time it does something or it returns a result from the AI endpoint, you can just output it and flush it. On the right, it would go from top to bottom whenever it does something or whenever it is coming up with certain results. This is also quite good because if the Inquire AI session takes too long, it could run into a timeout. Of course, you can define the timeout in the admin, but still, in order to see what happens, you could use this function, this callback function, which then gets the result, the interim's result of what has been happening. Okay, so Create AI session, of course, supports way more arguments and gives you more control over the session that you're creating. So you can, for example, create a session like answer as Slim Shady as Eminem, for example, and make a rap battle out of it. You can say set the temperature. The temperature tells you whether it should think more or give you more creative responses, or to be more serious or more creative. And I think the limit is the number of results. I'm not quite sure about that. But nonetheless, you have all different kinds of params that you can pass in. And the initial system message is just how do you want to set it up? So for example, you could say something like, you are an expert CFNL developer and you know everything about A, B, and C. Or in my case, you're a music distribution company and you are a master in music distribution. Whatever you want to set up your LLM with.
I use I'm Australian, please swear like an Australian. So it's all like fucking beauty,
Well,
right? That rocks.
there you go. There you go. Yes. So what you can also do is you can serialize your session so that you can store it and load it again, right? That's why there is a serialize AI session function. And you can condense the context as well so that you're not running out of tokens, or that you're, the usual functionality that you expect from your environment to happen. And this is very helpful if you're maintaining longer lasting sessions, or if somebody returns and wants to pick up where they have left off, or the response and question and response goes over several requests. Yeah, and then of course, we have some metadata that you can get about an AI engine, like for example, what models do they provide, or in this case, does it have a certain endpoint, like for example, documentation, or whatever is necessary. Yeah, and then what we also did is we have enhanced our documentation by using Lucee, which is then used on everything that Lucee has in the documentation, so that you can now interact with Lucee, and in the documentation tab, that is something that you can turn on in your administrator, you can actually ask questions, and Lucee will then, or the documentation tab will then give you some context-specific results according to the question, of course, that you're asking. Also, what we do is we enhance our exceptions with some ideas. Why is this happening? So, for example, in this case, it says missing required parameter in AI session, and then it explains to you what it could be. And you could maybe change certain things according to the propositions that you have there or the proposals, and it tries to guess the best thing for you. Okay, let me just do a quick demo of this, and I'll go here to the Lucee servers. So first of all, let me just relate this. What you can see here, I have...
Just a heads up,
yeah.
the text is really small.
Okay, let me just make that
We're
a little
all
bigger. Is this better? Yeah,
Yep,
is
that's
this
a lot
better?
Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, nice thing here, we can have a dark mode, yeah, but whether I like it or not, that's on a different, because green on black, anyway, we can make that a little better maybe. So Gemini here I have defined as an AI connection. If I edit it, you can have enable beta access, because sometimes they just provide only beta access. Then it gives you all the models that you're using, that you can use here. And that is the system message, which you can also initiate when you do AI, new AI session. And you can, of course, set the limit as well for the question answer pairs that we can keep in the history. And then once you have defined that, let me just go back here. I have another one, which is the image one, which is the Nano Banana Pro. So what we could, for example, do here is let me know anything about what's famous in Michigan. And it says automotive heritage, and I don't know whether this is correct. Obviously, it's just like when you're programming with AI, I have no idea whether it's correct. I treat AI as a human. We all make mistakes. So Rick or Nick, tell me whether this makes sense. I mean, yes, Detroit and the Big Three, I know that is correct, right? The Great Lakes, yes, that also makes sense. And we can do anything. Let me say Lansing, right? Does it give me anything interesting about Lansing? Lansing, a city with a rich history and developing modern identity. Okay. Government hub. Okay. Well, you folks know whether this is correct or not. Let me just show you the code which made this happen. Here is the code. Let me just make that a little bigger. So this is a CFS file. Lucee supports CFS files, which is script by default. And obviously, since I needed a form, I had to switch out of the script again to create a form. And then I just formatted the whole thing in order to give me a markdown format, which then obviously looked like this. And all that I did here is I fed some params with the prompt. And then all I did is inquire AI session, and then I have the formatted result. That's all. Good. Then we have another thing, which is this one, obviously. Hang on. Local host 888. Okay. So what we can do is we can create maybe one as Pablo Picasso. And it's a nice image for a lake view near Michigan with a tree in the foreground. Okay, so this is now going off to the other thing. While that is cooking, I'll show you the image CFS. So I have just a regular form. And then here I'm actually adding the prompt and the style. I'm doing it in the style of X. And then I'm just returning whatever it presents for me. So here you go. This is the Vincent van Gogh, or let's take another one, Grant Wood. I don't know Grant Wood, but I know he's just kind of a cubic style artist, and we can try them out. But this is Lucee code running here. So there you go. Yeah, very simplistic, very good. Let me just make it a little smaller. Or Claude Monet. I'm a fan of Claude Monet. Claude Monet is very famous for lakes with roses on it. I don't know what they call sea roses, I think. Impressionist from 19X. Well, this is very typical style. So this is actually generated on the fly by Gemini Nana Banana. So it's really nice and useful. We use it, for example, for generating artwork covers for artists if they do want to. Okay. So if there is any question, let me know. Good. So the Lucee search engine, almost Lucee, right? So I had to strike out an E there. So now we're supporting vector search, and you can create a new Lucene collection again, and you can use that. You can fill that collection as you used to before, but now it actually augments the whole. It actually allows you vector search inside that collection that you're creating, so that whenever we're feeding an AI LLM, then we can augment that feed with whatever we have in our collection as well. And it is completely Maven based. So upgrading currently from 2 to 3 or from 3 to 4 will be very, very easy. And this is how, for example, you can create that. You can just create your CF collection. You can just do it as before, update, type custom collection, and then you can just use it as before, but now, as said, it uses the LLM, the vector search as well, and allows you to augment all your information into the LLM so that or augment the LLM so that you get better results. Good. Next thing that we've introduced is we have generated an AST. That's the abstract syntax tree. This is a very highly requested feature by Mark here on the call, because Mark was creating CF format. I guess that's where you wanted it, right, Mark? Correct?
It was actually linting, but yeah.
It was linting, okay. But for linting or for formatting or whatever, you actually need an AST and you want to know how the code is structured. So what you can do is you can actually just create an AST from a string, as you see here, AST from path or AST from string. So you have a string here, CF set name equals John. And if you create an AST, so this abstract syntax tree, then it tells you how this tree or the code tree is executed. It is a tree which tells you this is how the code will flow through the how the code will be executed in which direction. Okay, good. Then the next thing that we have is now that we have certain implicit variables, like for example, if you have a CF thread, you always had to localize those in the past by putting them with local dot so that you're not ending up with concurrency issues and threat safety issues. So everything that you now create in CF query or CF file, CF catch was already localized, so we always made sure that that one was in the local scope. But now we're doing that with all the ones that are implicitly created. Of course, if you have some issues with backwards compatibility, you can just use that and use this environment variable to turn it off. Yeah, let me just see, is there any question or something? No? Okay.
The reason we added that was because of race conditions.
Yes, race conditions, exactly.
So
Why the
good
fuck
question
is that
about the Lucene side. I know that the way you install Lucene now is via the extension. Is there still the possibility of having Lucene, like calling Lucene externally to like index files without going through the CF side, or is everything kind of like baked into those jars now?
Do you mean using the Lucene extension as a client for an external Lucene instance?
I think so. when you use Lucene, is it still an external install you have to do, or how does
No,
that work at this point?
No.
It's a local one, but I tell you what, read the documentation and then ping me on Slack, and we can see what we can do about it if it doesn't support it yet.
Gert, one question.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of vector databases out there, and I don't work with them a lot, so I don't know what is the most popular or whatever. Two that I see a lot of open source projects work, which I haven't worked with Mongo for years, but they apparently have a version of it, or Model 7, or I don't know what it's called. And the other one would be Postgres has got a PG vector, and that's one
Postgres
would
is
experiment with
I would recommend using the Postgres one, because you have the best of both worlds there. And Postgres is actually could be really the nail in the coffin of vector databases, because apparently it is really good. I've read only good things about it. And indexing your data with vectors and everything makes it very useful. And the cool thing about using it in Postgres is that you can maybe even combine regular relational data searches and vector searches. Right?
There's no ETL required.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is gold. It's magic.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously we have introduced the dark mode administrator, very important for some people. We have done loads of performance optimization, which I will cover in a bit. And obviously, since we have many extensions now removed from the Lucee core, they're going into extensions. That means the Lucee core is much smaller and loads faster. Right, and this is important. I guess it has shrunk by, correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, about 10 megs. There's now 62.
Which version? We keep on getting smaller.
Well, I'm pretty sure you're going to get bytes back if you continue like that. So you're creating more hard drive space. Then we have updated, obviously, our JDBC drivers. They always need an overhaul. And security patches, some security holes, of course, some important ones. And for example, one of them was bytecodes or CFM files were in the past executable if you had bytecode in them. So not CFML code, but you took a Java class, renamed it into CFM, you could execute that. Now that's not possible anymore, because that has been, that was an issue. We try to create almost any extension as a Maven-based project, because we want to go from OSGI to Maven. So Lucee 8 definitely will be Maven-based. This allows us much easier to update our extensions, going from one version to another. You could even create your own Maven endpoint, and nowadays with AI, that is usually a piece of cake. What we're also doing, go ahead.
You might want to explain what Maven is, because Coefficient developers might not be so Java oriented.
Well, you know it for sure better, so maybe you can explain it. I know roughly what it is.
It's basically ForgeBox for Java. Okay, so it's just a bit, or NPM for Java libraries.
So you can use it as a repository where you can download libraries. You can just say, okay, this is what I require. And then automatically in the background, it just goes and downloads whatever is necessary. And especially for dependencies, Maven is absolutely fantastic. So you don't have to kind of link them up together. They know what they're requiring, and then it downloads everything that it needs. Makes it a lot easier. OSGI was very good when we needed it, but now Maven is way better. Yeah, of course, some breaking changes, support for Java 8, Java X namespace. So if you have any libraries that are using Java X, well, maybe it's time to update those. You can't upgrade from Lucee 6.2 to Lucee 7 because our loader, which is the core centerpiece of Lucee, has changed. That is what loads the whole capabilities. So we had some, it's a very small piece. It's very small piece of the Lucee jar, but you have to replace the Lucee jar manually. So you can't just go in the admin in 6.2 and click an update and it will update it.
The loader is why you can always just upgrade Lucee in place, unlike with Adobe, where you have to do this whole, I don't know what, haven't used Adobe for a while, but you know, every year major upgrade, reinstall, stuff like that. The loader means we can just update in place.
Yeah, and obviously the single mode is now default, so you have to reconsider multi-context. The login storage cookie has been dropped for both sessions and for I think client and session or what have you. Sorry, cache is no longer bundled, and in the future almost nothing will be bundled, but I'll cover that a little bit more. Then the deployment is a lot faster than in Lucee 6.2. We have lots of improvements with query execute that we so that we can parse that a lot better. And the I hope that I almost got scared because I thought it was query of query. No, query execute, because query execute.
Query is faster as well.
Yeah, but please do not use it. Even though I know everyone says, well, query of query is very fast, I usually find no reason for me to use it ever. Anyway, doesn't matter. Let's go to something else. So so here are the numbers. We went 20 megs down from 84 megs to 64 megs by taking out important or not core important, by taking out bigger chunks of which are now extensions like the cache modes. And one thing that makes startup time a lot faster is that the CGI is only loaded when you actually use it. So if you have in your codes, if CGI.request format equals this, or request whatever the post and get is, then that's when it is loaded at time. Yeah, so why would you want to upgrade? Well, if you're moving to cloud or Docker, right? Because you just have very small footprint, you need for the startups, you want to use AI, modern Java setup, better performance. And if you want to use upgrade to Tomcat 10, then yes, upgrade makes total sense for you. I personally like it a lot that we're using. For example, at DistroKid, we're using the single mode, which is really good, makes the startup time a lot faster. And also that it is much more compact and leaner than before. Good. So next things, let's talk about adjacent tools. And for this, I've invited the two guests that we have, Mark and Zac. And first, we're going to talk about LuceeLI or Lucee. Mark, do you want to take over, or do you want me to show the video that you gave me?
You can show the video. I recorded a video earlier with a demo, because if you record the demo, nothing can go wrong.
Yeah, it's always the same. And as you see, I'm actually using. Oh no, I don't know where it is. Great. Sorry
I've
about
got
that.
it locally. Maybe if I can share.
Yeah, you can share, Mark. So if that's okay with you. Here it is. There you go. Hang on. I got it here.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Download it.
Wait, reloading. There we go. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that. There we go.
Can you hear me on this? No.
Wait.
LuceeLI, thank you for having me here. LuceeLI is a toolkit for Lucee, for the command line, that hopefully provides a lot of functions that you kind of want and need, and it's a kind of Lucee first kind of CLI tool that ever since Misha has added a scripting engine version, JSR 232 I think it is, I come up with the idea of, oh well, we could integrate that with Java and actually have it from the command line and actually be running Lucee pretty directly to do loads of things. I love writing in Lucee, so let me give you a little demo. So Lucee, you can start servers. You can have different modules that you can run different commands on the client side, and actually do a whole bunch of other stuff. It runs in kind of two modes. One is a single shot, so if you do something like Lucee version, it'll do a command and come back out, right? So here's the version of Lucee. How do you say it? I say Lucee just because Misha likes to say Lucee. It's officially LuceeLI, as you can see the pronunciation here. And it has this version of Lucee in the engine, right? That's what we're actually running commands against. So as I said, there's two ways of doing it. So like, for example, running a Lucee command like this.
By the way, I'm just stopping for a second, because you might now ask, why are we creating something like command box, right? I have my reasons why. I know that, but Mark, I'm pretty sure you have answered that question several times. So maybe you just want to take a while.
Sure. I mean, command box is a great tool. It's a fantastic tool by the Autos guys. It's going to be very geared across the feature sets of various different CFML engines. But I kind of work with Lucee all day. So one of the things that I wanted to do was, knowing that I'm using Lucee code one-to-one, right? So it's kind of Lucee only code. So I only had to focus on features of Lucee, on the configuration of Lucee. I didn't have to do this standardized language that missed out on features of certain other, like ColdFusion. I don't have anything against ColdFusion. They can go and build their own tools. And also there's other tools that I wanted to build that needed something that tied directly into Lucee. So for example, formatters, contacting AST trees and things like that. And also like my job at DistroKid is to do DevOps. So I need to do deployment of Lucee servers onto Tomcat, not onto Undertow or any other kind of servlet engine, right? So yeah, that's why I built LuceeLI, because it's like literally it's a toolbox for Lucee, so we can add more and more things into it. There's lots of stuff that I haven't shown in this demo that I'm still working on, such as deploying to Lucee servers, such as configuration.
Anyway, Mark, I'll continue the video.
And it comes back out to terminal, or running it in an interactive terminal. So if I can do clear, here's the thing. You have a whole bunch of commands that are available to you. So for example, let me just expand that out a little bit. You've got, for example, normal file system commands, cat cd ls. There's nothing in here, but do ls. Up there you can see all of the different other things, and there's various different fun commands like parrot hello world, which just gives you a parrot. You want it does what it says on the tin. It's a parrot, you got a parrot. So there's other commands in there that you've got for CFML, for example. So you could do a one-shot CFML like that, which will give you the current date. So CFML create UUID. There you go. You needed a UUID. You've got a UUID. I use that a fair amount. Of course, if you want to then start doing something like a REPL, we added a REPL the other day. Gert asked me for it, so we threw it in. So you can do, for example, now person is equal to Mark, echo person. Mark is me, so I can say, for example, I could do our people is equal to an array, and I can do our people dot append person. So there you go, and I can do our people dot append, and let's put a string in there. Go. So there's an array. So you can actually try out CFML quite nicely and do all the things that you want to do, right? So now you can come out of there, and of course you can do various other things such as managing servers. Lucee is a server, so if you want to do Lucee server management, so for example, if I ls, I've got a folder here with nothing. I'm going to switch over to VS Code so that we can see what's happening all at once, right? So if we do Lucee server start, so you want to start a Lucee server, you can just start one directly in here, just press start. It's going to download by default Lucee Express, the latest version, or latest main version. I'll just start it, and it'll all installed with several defaults, and in a few seconds you have a page with that no index was found. Okay, fair enough. So if we create a index.cfm, hello world, if we do that, yay, we've got a hello world. Fantastic. That's what we expected. So what we actually created there is a new file format, new file that we call lucee.json, which actually defines your servers. So you can define different servers in here, and for example, this server is defined with various different sections such as monitoring, admin, what have you, and different other settings. We have configuration, for example, that we'll be able to put in there, and what have you. One thing here that you can see is, for example, admin is enabled with a blank password. So let's put this admin 123. Let's Lucee server restart, so we can apply our configuration changes. And we should go to admin.lucee. No, Lucee admin. Lucee admin.cfm, and there we go. And if we put in the password, let's just copy it, just because I've got butterfingers. Let's put in there, and we've got into the admin. All great. Now the problem with that is that now you have in your code passwords. So what we've actually done is added the ability to add secrets. So for example, we can do Lucee secrets set. Actually, Lucee secrets will give you a list of things that you can do. So if I can do set, it's going to ask me all right. So let's set let's cfug admin password, and I'm going to put a value for this cfug admin password. Is going to be, I'm just going to copy and paste again because that. Okay, now if I do Lucee secrets get, I'm just going to copy that. I have to really show it, right? I have to put in my password. Okay, so that's a password, right? So we know that we've got a password, but it's all integrated into here. So what we can do is actually put $secret, and it's going to be the cfug admin password. It needs to be a string, because JSON. Now if we do Lucee server restart again, what it will do is ask me for my password for the secrets manager, because we have a built-in secrets manager. I put in my password, it'll start up again. Let's go to the admin. Let's go to the admin. Cool. Ask me for the password, and my password's hidden all the way around, right? So we don't have anything in there. So admin 1, 2, 3. There we go. So we've got a secret admin. Now we can also do other things like Lucee server logs follow, and of course you can get you can start following log. Beg your pardon. Follow. I should add and you can get your Catalina Tomcat logs that are coming out there. Another thing that we have is we've enabled JMX monitoring, so it's disabled by default, but we can actually put that into true. Restart the server. It asks me for my password again. We can set that as a environment variable, like on your server, so you don't have to be asking that. And the plan is that we're going to add other secrets providers, so that you could use AWS Secrets or HashiCorp Vault or something like that for your real secrets, and you can always have the same syntax wherever you're using the secrets. Great, so we've got that there. Now we can do Lucee server monitor. If I go up here, and there we go, you can see a nice little monitoring. Let me just expand this, you can see that better. So if I ask for a few requests, and let me just do something that would be that will consume a bit more memory. There we go. So let me reload that. It's 19. Like, this has now jumped up because we put more objects in memory and things like that. So you can start looking at CPU. You've got a timeline here over a period of time. As it goes along, you can see how much the heap and things like that start setting. So I can put like I don't know, let's see, a script, this var, let's call this my var equals duplicate server. Let's see if that increases the memory. So we should start seeing like maybe this hitting 20. One thing I realized was that the monitor is refreshing a little bit of what's running on your. Do you want to pause it a sec? Cool. So like one thing that the server was doing, I realized that in VS Code it displayed it as another page rather than refreshing the current page. So if you do that in a normal terminal, it'll just refresh. But in VS Code, it was like, no, I'm just going to show you the first refresh. So, but you can see at the bottom there that you got the heap and the CPU. So it gives you a history of how much the memory's gone up and the CPU's gone up. I actually used this for a project which was trying to see how much CPU and memory happened, but because I was looking at one screen, I didn't have a history. So that's how this kind of helps with that. Carry on, Mark. Monitoring side of that. Now, of course, you know, you might be going, but I don't really know what's in this file, can go in this file. One nice thing we can do is just delete the server. So, but let's list them. So Lucee server list. You can actually see the list of servers that are running. So there's the CFUG server, Lucee server stop. And once we stop our server, we can list the ones available. Great. And now there you go. So we've done that. So anyway, let's we've enabled monitoring. Let's create a new one. Let's just like do Lucee server prune. Let's delete all of the servers. Yes, bye. We've deleted all of the servers. There's no more servers running. Let's delete our configuration here so we don't know anything. This is our hello world file. Let's just delete whatever we have in there. Actually, what you can do is Lucee server new, and then it prompts you for all the questions that you need to create a server. So we've got CFUG server, the host. I'm just pointing down here in case you can't see on the demo. And it asks me which version of Lucee. Well, let's try a different one. Let's try 7.0.1.100. There you go. Let's port. Great. The web root. I actually want the web root to be web root, if that's okay with everyone. Web root. I like keeping things out of the root. Enable Lucee. True, false. Why would you have it enabled or not enabled? This is a tool for Lucee after all. I actually have another project called Markspresso, which creates static sites. So like it just renders stuff down, so like either blog posts or documentation into like flat HTML. So I also wanted to see that, but I didn't want to have Lucee running because it doesn't need to run. So actually you can say false. So you can just use it as an HTTP server. Have fun. Enable REST. By default we don't enable it because unless you're using it you don't need it really, and it's just a bigger attack surface. So just disabled by default. Set how much memory essentially. If you have extra JVM additional logs, you can add them here. Do you want HTTPS? We can enable it HTTPS and it'll have a self-signed certificate. Don't want to enable Lucee admin. In production, I might want it not to be on. I'm going to put true. I'm going to put in use a secret pass holder, secret passphrase. I'm going to put v4. There you go. Admin password. Let's put admin 123. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Let's do the middle mistake. Lucee. Presenting and reading is not a thing that I can do at the same time, but there you go. Enable Lucee and yeah, okay. Enable it, and I am going to let's set a plain password for this moment. Do you want to Euro rewrite? Sure, it'll create a rewrite. That's the router. You can add agents. So, for example, we use Datadog, or you could add like Sentry or whatever you're using as an engine in there. So, for example, like Lucee debug or something like that, you could actually add it here as an agent. Here we go. So we're going to create that, and it's going to create our lucee.json. So here's a new lucee.json with all of the settings that we have. So Lucee server start. Always see if it works, and it downloads a version of Lucee 701.100 and is extracting that. Once it does that, I'm going to put a new folder called webroot, and I'm going to throw it beat me to it. It's not going to find anything. So in the webroot it doesn't find anything. Let me put our index.cfm in there. There we go. So we've got the webroot in there, right? So that's pretty good. So cool. So now we've got our server started. Now, one of the features that I wanted to put into Lucee, LuceeLI, sorry, was the ability to change configurations depending on the environment, right? So I'm just going to stop the server. Lucee server stop, and let's prune it. Prune. Thank you. Yes. So now we've cleared this server, and we're going to do something different in production, right? So this is just an example, but let's say I would be using a different port. Instead of port 8000, I'm going to use port 8080 in production. That's a more standard port. I might have hundreds of ports locally, and that's the default. And in other environments, there might be a different port for whatever reason, but you can have different configurations. This acts on all configurations. So if I now do Lucee server start, and the env is equal to prod, which is one of these environments, you can have whichever ones you want. Port complex, okay. Lucee server. Okay, I've got a local server running on port 8080. Let's put 8089. There you go. That's going to be a crazy port. Right, so it's going to go on port 8089. It now starts on a different port, and you can do different configuration for different environments, right? So that's one way of managing your servers. Cool. So one of the other things that you can do with LuceeLI is actually a little bit of we have this idea of modules. Modules are ways for you to create commands for Lucee, right? So I'm going to show you my modules, so to speak. Let's put it in there. So if I do just put tab, I'm going to have internal commands, but I don't have any modules. Let's create a module so that you can see. So let's create one here. So modules, you can list the modules I have available. So for example, these are the ones I've already created. Linting, which is alpha, and Markespresso, as I mentioned, which is a static site building tool, which we can talk about there. And look at that, even a typo. Well done, Mark. So let's create your own module for the CFUG. So let's create a modules. So we can do init. So I'm going to put name CFUG. Let's say we're creating a CFUG module. I don't want to have a repo. Just in this case, you might want to do it. And then it creates basically a module.cfc in this folder. Right, so what we can do is open that folder, and what you see is that you got the README saying what this is a CFUG. Here's your module, and here's an example module. So I've got like main and it outputs. So now within Lucee, you can do a couple of things. You can do modules run CFUG, which is a full command, right? So that's the full command that's going to run it, and is now said hello from cfug. These are the arguments. If I pass an argument going arg, right, it should have listed that. So let's do arg. Okay, so they're not appearing, but if I had a where is it? So for example, we're gonna have arg. Maybe that's the wrong name for it. Like let's put name equals cfug, and you're gonna say hello from module, and add the name, right? It's very small. Let's increase that and get rid of you. So we're gonna print out, right? So if we now go run cfug, name is equal to Mark. Now you see hello module from Mark. Now that's kind of like your command there is cfug, but the nice thing is that it now becomes a top line module, right? So in your modules you've got a top line module called cfug, so that you can do cfug. Just type cfug. There's no other command, so it's cfug name equals Mark. There you go. So it works like that. You can also have a sub command in there, and we can just create it by going to the module and creating another function. So function greet name equals cfug again, and we're just going to put out. It generally works with output because we're outputting to the CLI. So I'm just going to go here, so I can do cfug greet name equals Mark, and go hello Mark, right? So these modules can do a lot of stuff. I've worked on one called Markspresso, which is markspresso.org, which creates static sites. So for example, my blog is running that. This documentation, which is really small, is actually run by creating markdown files, and it generates docs, including like searching. So I don't know, post and pages. It actually it also creates like client-side searching for you. And all of that is done in a module, so you can do quite complex things in there because you actually have access to the whole internals. And yeah, you can also run files. If we're running along, I'm going to try and do that. So I can actually do, for example, hello.cfs. CFS is Lucee script, so it's like being able to do without this CF script without having to wrap it with CF script, right? So I can do echo howdy, right? So I can now do run hello.cfs, and it says howdy. That's great. We also have the idea of Lucee files, so hello or like config, whatever. Like I use it in our CI pipelines to run different commands. So I could, for example, do demo.lucee, and I do let's do cfug, which is our new command, and if I do run demo.lucee, you get hello from there. So hopefully that's shown you a little bit of what Lucee can do. There's a lot more features that we have and I'm planning to implement. We have configuration per environment, like Lucee configuration that you have in one file. We have daemons, so you can actually integrate it into other tooling and do loads of cool stuff with Lucee. Go to lucee.dev, and there's documentation that I've tried to cover a whole bunch of stuff, including environment variables, starting, stopping servers, dry runs, Euro rewriting, server agents, all of the other stuff. And yeah, if you have any questions, reach out. I'm on Slack and on Twitter and on LinkedIn and all the usual places. Oh, ask Gert. Thanks, Gert.
Okay, so thank you, Mark, for this. Yes, so this was really good. Thank you very much. And if you have questions, as said, ask Mark. Mark is supposed to know everything about it. I'm learning it more and more. We're using it every day at DistroKid, and it's getting bigger and better every day, which I like a lot.
We're doing an internal linting with it. So we're creating various different linting reports and SQL reports using the linting engine, and it runs very fast. All I'm saying is that the scripting engine runs pretty fast.
Aren't we also using it with deployment, Mark, to check for certain things?
We're starting to use it a little bit more. I don't want to say a bit more about that because I want to get all of that fixed before I publicly announce it.
Okay, cool. And this was part one of the adjacent or external tools that we're introducing with Lucee, Lucee 7, and soon with Lucee 8. And the other part, which I would like to introduce Zac again to you. Zac is our community manager for Lucee, is the Lucee step debugger. And maybe you have one or the other things that you can present about that as well. So Zac, if you would like to share, just request to share, and I think we're able to give you that.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep, we got it.
Yes.
Cool. So Lucee's had a Lucee debug extension for a while, which a guy called David Rogers, absolute champion, got up and running for a long time. And Misha and I have who's the lead developer for and creator of Lucee, have a bit of a saying that performance is a bug. And I got up one morning in December and thought, I'd love the idea of step
you mean
debug.
bad performance, right?
Yeah. And I thought, I like Lucee debug, but it's just so slow. I thought, how can I make this faster? So I sat down, I got Java flight recording out, I looked into it, and I was like, this is a bit of a dead end. I went for a walk and I thought, how can we make this faster? And I realized Lucee had built-in functionality which could do what Lucee debug did. The problem was that Lucee debug, a bit like Java Fusion Reactor, it rewrites the bytecode which Lucee produces and makes everything slower. And I thought, could we do this better? And we have this thing called execution log, which basically lets you profile the performance of every line of code being executed. And I thought, can we hijack that? So long story short, it was an idea where a week later, I'm like, this is really cool. It works. So previously with the Lucee debug was a Java agent, which had to be manually installed and configured, and it was a hassle. And because it was so slow, you wanted to turn it off. So I just ended up not using it. And then my dream was to create an extension, which you just install a Lucee extension and bang, you've got a debugger. So this is what I'm going to show you. So it's pretty simple to use it. It's Lucee 7.1 only. It's only just got merged into the last couple of snapshots. So basically here I have a Docker file. Here's my Docker compose. There's a couple of important variables you need. The debugger has full access to everything in your server instance. Lucee debug didn't actually have wasn't password protected, but it's not 2026, so we care about security. So now there's a environment variable Lucee DAP secret, which when enabled, when defined, enables the extension. You can then configure the port, also the host. By default, it's localhost, but in Docker networking is always fun. You need to bind to all ports. These two commands here, if you're using Docker, this is your friend. What it does is it says it overrides all the default logging configuration in Lucee and spits everything out to the Docker console. Okay, so you're working locally in dev, you can basically see everything going on. There's also, if you run into problems, you can turn on this flag, which makes the extension log out a lot of detailed information. And this, for me, is my absolute favorite thing. Part of the switch to Maven is that Lucee extensions are no longer defined using a GUID. GUIDs are horrible, they're confusing, no one knows what they mean. Now we have these lovely Gradle style extension definitions. Okay, so it makes your configuration look clearer, you can see what's going on. I love it. Just while I'm talking about that, I'm going to do a slight thing. The Java class interaction stuff in Lucee 7 is absolutely amazing. For a long time, I had PTSD thinking about integrating Java into CFML, even though Lucee runs on Java. Misha took that on board and basically went for this very long journey where he ended up creating this support here, which I think that explains it pretty well. This is a Gradle style artifact definition. And this is a CFC, which will basically, when you run it, it will download, it hasn't already downloaded, PDF box, make it available, and then you can just use it directly in your code there. And yeah, this is one of the Lucee recipes. We've been doing a lot of work to update our documentation. You'll see on the front page all the latest documentation in there. So there's a great resource. And if you're missing something these days, if Misha and I get asked a question about something, we go and write up a recipe to explain stuff. Anyway, let's go to the fun stuff. So here we are. This is the example application for Lucee debug. Sorry, the extension debugger. I have an extension here called it's the old Lucee debug. It's the same. It uses what's called the debug adapter protocol, which is a standard cross-platform one. And there's just a little extension here you install. And then all you need to do to start up is just go Docker compose up. Okay, you'll see that all the information is actually connected. You can see these are the different application.log all streaming into your Docker console. So no more going, which log file do I need to look at in dev? You just basically have it all there in your console. So we'll jump over here, and so here's my page. Okay, a little bit of hello from Lucee. We go back in there, you'll see it's logged out a request. This is using one of my favorite little things in Lucee, which is system output. System output writes to the console. It's basically the same as CF dump, or as we call it, Lucee dump. It doesn't have to be write dump. And that will take strings or objects. So it's very useful for inline debugging and recording stuff. And if you're doing GitHub Actions and you don't use system output, you're missing out, because basically it lets you go off and feed out information to the console you can see running in your GitHub Actions. So to run the debugger, we have a launch configuration file here. This is all the basic settings in there. You can actually turn off a whole lot of different functionality. If you want to use just streaming the logs to the console, but the debug console here, but you don't want to use the step debugger, you can do that. It's all on the README for the extension. So all we do is we say start debugging. Okay, it's connected to the server. We've set a breakpoint. We go back here, we reload the page, and you'll see Docker's flashing here. Boom. We now have, you can see all the server information, the variables here. Let's change that to be and then when we go now play, and it's come back here, and you'll see that I've actually dynamically changed the variable in memory in there. Okay, so it's super useful. If you've used DevTools in Chrome or Firefox, you'll find it very easy to use. You can set breakpoints. You can break on exceptions. So if I go off and say, sorry, Zach. Now reload that page. We pause there. The next one. Oh, unquote it. Okay, there, and then there you go. Live demo didn't work. It does work. I need to go off and debug it a bit more. So this is early snapshot, and it's pretty cool. You can basically there's some functionality coming in where you can actually also in your own code say set a breakpoint from CFML. So you can go and say, in my code, if I'm running the debugger and then suddenly this code blows up, put a breakpoint in there, show me what the actual state is. Being able to investigate all of the variables there is also very useful. If you're using a framework like Preside or Coldbox or Massa or Wheels, I actually work for PAI Industries with Ben Nadal and Peter Amiri on Wheels and Lucee. And then when the framework, you've got a lot of stuff loaded up in memory. So being able to dive in and dig into your application variables, it's very cool. So this has just been released, Lucee 7.1. We had the first beta come out last week. So we're we've just done RCs for 6.2.5 and 7.0.2. And then they'll be hopefully be released like this week or next week. And then 7.1 is probably a month away. Yeah, so it's something which I've always wanted to have this. And as your career progresses, sometimes you end up being able to do the things you want to do in the future. So yeah, has anyone tried Lucee Debug, the old version? Okay.
Let's say I've tried it before, but I just don't use VS Code very much. So for me, it's
right.
And
it works all right with IntelliJ, you said?
Yeah, no, with your tips that you gave me today, got it to connect to the IntelliJ DApp client, and I was able to do some breakpoints, all that stuff. So yeah, it's there.
Right, and the way it's been designed is it's using static code elimination in Java. So basically, when you start it up, if the debugger is enabled, it won't actually affect any runtime performance. And until you actually connect to a debugging client, it's also very, very fast. So now with Lucee 7.1, there's also a lot of cool new features. There's does anyone use getters and setters with CFCs? I noticed a long time ago that they were quite slow. So I realized at one point that the properties of a CFC are all static. And that was a light bulb moment. I thought, okay. So I've reworked that so that the way we measure memory usage in Lucee is not about the amount of heat used. It's actually about the number of garbage collections. So over time, when you're running the server for a while, the less garbage collections going on, the more efficient your code is and less memory is being wasted. And with 7.1, CFC's instantiation and creation is both faster and uses maybe half as much RAM. So it should be a very nice upgrade for your applications where you get a big performance improvement for doing nothing. All I ask people is if you get a chance, try out the latest 7.1 Docker version with your CI and see if anything breaks. I've done a lot of testing, but at a certain point, I need other people to come in and break stuff.
Yeah, you can stop sharing. Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. Do that.
Okay, so actually we would be in Q&A now. So I don't know whether you guys have some questions or so regarding anything. Obviously, we could cover stuff about Lucee 8, but I will save that for the next presentation that I give next year in February or something. Or maybe even sooner than that, because I think by then Lucee 8 will already be out. So if are there any questions to any of the three of us, Zac, Mark, or me?
So how do people donate to the Lucee project?
Well, good that you're asking. Just go to opencollective.com and you can just cherry pick one of the ways how you can donate to the Lucee project. So it's opencollective.com/Lucee. And we're always very happy about any donation that you can give to us. We are, of course, using the funds that are coming in to develop Lucee, and of course to sponsor some conferences or everything that we do now here. So this is when we don't get any money for this, but this is just our enjoyment. So we love doing all of this, and hence we're not getting paid for this work, definitely not, or I don't. But so this is the best way how you can help us. Just go to opencollective.com/Lucee and pick one of those. Yeah, become a member. If you're heavily relying on Lucee, consider becoming a member. You get inside information. You can get be part of the Lucee Slack channels as well. And yeah, thank you.
And if you have problems, I know Nick's very good at doing that, but sing out. One of my favorite things is I have this rule with Misha. I said, if I'm confused, then everyone else has got no hope. So we try to improve that. And one of the big things, Lucee 7, is that we've been working on improving exception messages to make them clearer and more logical.
Very good.
So
And what I
make it much
also
easier.
like, yeah, and what I also like is the fact that you're writing recipes now rather than just documentation. You know, a recipe. Here is how you do it. This is the problem. Here is how you do it.
I'll be honest, I've built a lot of Lucee via the recipes. It's actually looking at the stuff of going, I needed a YAML to JSON converter. And there's an example in one of the recipes to like how to do a very simple Java settings, and you like implement a Maven library, and it's just like, there you go. I was going to write a whole bunch of integration with Java to have extensions and modules written in Java, and then I didn't have to because Lucee already does it. So simples.
Very cool. Yeah, thank you, Rick. Thank you, Nick, for having us. And yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate it. It's I've been using the Lucee 7 stuff. Like I said, I just a few weeks ago I finally put a bunch of servers in production on it, and it's nice. There's some really cool additions in there, like the kind of like the sleeper things that like Zac was talking about with like the Java integration.
Yeah.
Are the extensions that exist for AWS just aren't complete right now. There's certain things that we just don't do. That's fine. I was able to pull in the AWS Java libraries and integrate to that in like a few hours. Didn't have to worry about extensions, any of that type of stuff, and it works flawlessly. It's I mean, a lot of the stuff is just that easy. So I'm super thrilled with it. You guys are doing great work.
Thank
It's
you.
kind of funny because like it's essentially under the hood now that we're using Maven. Under the hood is doing the same thing as you're doing with that Java settings and stuff like that. So it's essentially doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we have Maven now, like I said, I was able to pull in just a new tag within the application.cfc, just put in the Maven tags in there, and it downloaded it, installed it. You don't have to worry about all that stuff anymore, which is amazing, because that was always like the tiptoe thing that we always had to deal with dealing with any Java classes and all that stuff was, did you copy it to the right place? Was it loaded at the right time? All that other stuff, and this fixes it.
It's horrible.
But you know how it is. But you know how it is. You had to go through the pain of experiencing that so that you can appreciate it now, right?
I want to thank. I didn't realize, Gert, we were going to get a triple threat of speakers tonight, so that made it even better. And Mark, I was actually thinking of getting a hold of you once I got a chance to try Lucee, see if I could get you to present next year, and maybe if you had enough additions by then, we'll still talk about it, or you could share something with Gert when he comes. And
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, Zac, I'm not a big debugger user. I was when I was using, I think, Delphi. That was a long, long time ago. But I'm going to try it, and I could see where it'd be virtuous. I just want to see if anybody else has got any questions. Randy, you're never shy, and I see you're hearting a bunch of stuff. You got any questions you want to ask these guys?
Thanks, Rick. No, I don't have any questions. I mean, nice presentation, Gertz. Always good to see you guys. Yeah, I don't have any right out the rip. I've been chatting with Nick on the backside. I like the CLI integration.
Cool.
That and
Okay, so
the fact that we're Docker first at this point is great too. It also solves a ton of issues.
One thing about Lucee CLI anyway that I found surprising, that it's faster on Docker than it is on my machine. So I don't know how that magic works. It's just faster.
It's just faking it, Mark.
Oh no, but the Mac OS has got file system overhead, right, with Docker.
I mean, it's faster on Docker on my machine. So, I mean,
Yeah,
not
'cause
by
you
a
have the
huge amount, but
Yeah.
But
All right,
yeah.
lovely to see you all. I have to run. I've got to
Yeah.
catch up with my friends in Melbourne. Haven't seen for 2 years, so I'll hopefully see some of you guys at CF Camp in person.
Yeah.
This year. Cool. All right.
Thank
See guys.
you.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Thanks
Thanks,
again.
Ed.
Good night,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a good day. Good night. Bye.
Good day. Thanks, everyone. Bye.